Good evening, keepers of the cash. Gary B, the casual comic guy here, and joining me as every Thursday, we have Digger Jim down in the corner. Jim, how you doing tonight, sir?
I am psyched. I am so ready for this hot seat with Cliff. I've waited all week. Yes.
Nice. And we've pulled him out of the grading hell that he's probably been in as a teacher. We have Chuck Hensey joining us as another co-host tonight. Chuck, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. I can't wait to hear what Cliff has to say tonight.
Yes, and since we've heard his name twice, let's introduce him, the man of the hour, the one we're all here to talk to. Cliff, how you doing tonight, sir?
Pleasure to be here. My last 2 weeks has been such a blur. I'm here. Hi.
All right. Am I in the right spot?
I just wrapped up Crisis Quest for February with a bow on it, and I was like, all right, everybody, see me on Gary V. Bye.
Dude, I feel I've been living that busy YouTube life too. I had a show Tuesday. I filmed the show last night. I have this one tonight. Friday, I'm on Blame Fable. It's just, it's just it's been nonstop.
It's when people want to see you, they want to see you.
I was mostly keeping good track until they kept my mom in the hospital last week. And during that time, my friend Chad passed away. And that disrupted everything. So I've just been like swimming through a fog. So I'm like, yes, of course. I said I would do those things. Yeah. So like last night I was giving my suicide awareness seminar. So like that was a whole thing. It was even though I only had 7 people show up, we can only have 22 participants.
Right.
This was the first time that we had a fully booked class. And so I was so excited that I got the class fully booked. So they actually had to shut out new attendees. And then, of course, I only got 7 people, but still it was very nice.
Right.
Every time I have a night class, I'm going to send it out to the comic book community and let people know so they can try to attend.
Now, before we get going, same thing like we do in the 10-1. Tell people who you are, what your channel's about, who else you make content with, Council of Comics. And then we'll go say hi to the chat, and then we'll come back and we'll start asking you the questions that people want to know.
Great. Well, I'm Cliff, full name Clifford, like the big red dog. I actually have been making content for many years, doing a variety of stuff. There used to be a card game from Upper Deck called Versus System, and it featured Marvel and DC. And my first podcasting experience was that, and that it was called The Ring Is Chosen.
Nice.
And then what brought me back this moment, and there's multiple things that have occurred in between then and now, including Read, Watch, Play with my good friend Tony, who is now good friends with Aggressively Relaxing over doing the Star Trek stuff. But what recently brought me back was Sam from the Council of Comics, where he's like, I really want to do this Council of Comics thing. And I was like, great, because I love doing that stuff. Let's do it. So we started doing the Council of Comics stuff. And again, we were like working in the ether. I really was like, I didn't have eyes on any version of the comic book community, right? Mm-hmm. It was just like, we're putting this content out there. We're just hoping that people are going to catch on and see it, which was fine. And we had befriended Angel, Empire Comics. And he's like, do you know these other guys? We're like, no, we know nothing about that. What are you talking about? And then that kind of brought us here. I'm every time I talk about this, I'm so upset. I'm so upset that his passing made me forcibly aware of this community, right? Because then when I started seeing people tagging him, then I was like, I'm connecting all the dots, because prior to that, I think the only interaction we had prior to that was Brian LCS. And then when I started joining chats and whatever, people were just like, who's Clifford and why? And I'm like, I don't like everyone else has a name, right? Anachronic Comics, Hulk Collector, Brian LCS, Madam Blaster, Lady Fantastic. Like, I'm seeing all these names, and I'm like, Clifford. And I was like, no, Cliff on Comics. I will. And you have content.
See,
Yeah,
now Chris, I
identity
wish
is
I knew that Gary
right
guy a little
there.
bit less. I wish I knew that Jim guy a little bit less.
No,
Let's say
I
hi to
love
the
you
chat
guys.
real quick, and then we'll come back to you, Cliff. All right. Ooh, let me. You know what? Let me get my fingers working first. That would be a key here, right? Why is it frozen? All right.
Gary, you
Already
gotta keep these
technical
fingers warmed up.
difficulties. We're off the rails. First in, as always, we have Las Cruces. Good evening, sir. Nice to see you, James. Paul from Psychedelic Comics. Good evening. Comic Cap Collectibles. How you doing tonight, sir? We have Kevin, Hulk Collector 82. Good to see you, Kevin. How you doing? And we have Joe, Anachronic Comics. Good evening, Joe. How's it going, buddy? Joe, I didn't get to leave a comment yet, but I did watch your last video. I couldn't watch it while it was live because I was filming another show on Switch Comics. Tony from Comiverse. Good evening, sir. How you doing? Miss Bobby Catalano. How you doing tonight, Bobby? Nice to see you. And for some reason, every time I see somebody say her name, they want to say Castellano. They want to put an S in there, but it's Catalano.
I blame my so-called life.
Right.
Mr. DVH, how you doing tonight, sir? And as always, one of my all-time favorite people. He'll always be one of my favorite people. Mr. Jerry the Jitterbug. How you doing tonight, Jerry? Good to see you, buddy.
Jerry.
Love Cherry.
Mr. Chop and Drop, another one of our great supporters. What's that, Cliff?
Jerry's videos are amazing, and they give me the sweats. I'm like, what are you doing to that page, Jerry? What are you doing? Oh,
Brian LCS, how you doing? How you doing tonight, Brian?
Oh my god.
Some nerd called Cliff on Comics. First time in. No, just
Never heard of him.
oh, let's see who else we got here.
Did you get DVH?
Whack Comics.
Oh yeah.
Lee, I sent you the requested video. Let me know what you think when you watch it, sir. Let's see. Robert, the comic book G Spot. Good evening, sir. Nice to see you. Brad, how are you tonight, sir? Good to see you, buddy. And we are getting down there. And Phil, how you doing tonight, Phil? Nice to see you. Thank you for coming in. And we are getting there. And of course, another one of my favorite people, Miss Caroline, Lady Fantastic. How you doing tonight, Caroline?
Good.
But all right, we're gonna just keep nodding to people as they come in. But Cliff, it's all about you. Random Rick reviews. How you doing, Rick? Nice to see you. And Cliff, he made sure it was in his contract that I had to say it was just all about him because he's kind of a diva. So
Yeah.
he got his Evian backstage. He's all set. He's hydrated. We're gonna go with it. So
It
Cliff,
was cold in spring, but we'll accept.
so just to get things going, you always want to ask a few of the basic questions for anyone that's never seen you. Where did your comic connection come from? Did it start when you were young, or were you introduced through a friend, or what brought you to the comics?
No, it just started when I was young. I saw Superman on TV, and I kind of I had a fear of Superman, and then I saw Superman comics, just at the drugstore at CVS, and that's how I got for my first 3 comics. All came from random racks, and it was I think the first comic I got was part 2 in a 3-part story about Superman versus Bartox. And my mother and I slowly got them. And once I had all 3 chapters, I made my mother read them to me every night.
Wow.
And so that was then the first comic that I actually had a little bit of allowance, and I actually picked it up off the rack, was the All-Star Squadron, where Superman of Earth 2 is beating the hell out of Captain Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
Only I don't know that it's Earth 2 or why everything looks weird and different. It really was something I had to wrap my head around.
Right.
And then it would be the announcement of Man of Steel coming out that would make me into a collector. And I actually went and shopped locally at this store called Lloyd's that was basically a precursor to Walmart. And, we would walk in, that magazine section was there, and every week I got every issue, except for issue 4. And issue 4, I had to track it down. And I was like looking at ads and comics, trying to find comic book stores. We found one in Paramus, New Jersey, and it was in the mall. And of course, my brother and sister were like, yay, shopping trip in the mall. And I'm like, I want to go to a comic book store. So that was my first legit walk into a place that is dedicated to comic books.
Nice.
It was Heroes World in Paramus, New Jersey. I don't think they exist anymore, but I got my issue 4 there. Issue 2 of Man of Steel, my mom ordered a whole bunch of comics from Mile High Comics off their 50-cent list, right?
Wow.
And months later, when I'm trying to figure out who the hell the Legion of Superheroes are,
Right.
I would receive my care package from Mile High Comics, and in there, anything that had the name Super in the title was wrapped in there. So there was tons of the New Adventures of Superboy and a few, and I'm talking like 4 Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes just packed in there. I'm like, oh, they're Superboy's friends. Oh, I kind of get it now. In the meantime, I'm trying to figure out why Superman is fighting them, why Superman isn't Superboy. And I've told you guys way too much about my origin, but this is all how it happened to me.
You were super confused.
Right.
A little super confused. I figured it out. You know.
Bless you. If Legion of Superheroes is what got you in here, then you're a lifer for sure. I mean, there's no doubt about that. If you can make sense of the Legion of Superheroes, you're probably better than 3/4 of this panel, because I'm not sure I can. So
I've never really read them except for in that one story arc that Joe recommended me, where they're in it for a little bit. The Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow, when they came in for a minute.
I collected them.
Heartbreaking and beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And it's like, Kal-El, the me of this time must be time traveling for me to be solid in the present. Yes, Kara, that's exactly what's happening. It's not like I just buried your body in the heart of the sun in space just a few months ago.
Now, yeah, it was great. It was my first time reading it, and I loved it. And I'm not really a Superman guy. 23 Munch, how you doing tonight, sir? Nice to see you, man.
Yeah, I love that the Legion. I love how the Legion brought him a hint. They're like, we wanted to bring you this statue for your special day. The statue where you're holding a Phantom Zone projector.
Yeah.
Now, but let's stay on Superman a while and stuff, because I know this is a really important character to you. Tell me a couple of your favorite storylines, and why did you gravitate towards Legion of Superheroes? What was the dynamic there that really sold it for you?
I only gravitated to Legion of Superheroes because they were Superman's friends. Literally that. Right?
She said Mike Grell. Mike Grell artwork.
Yeah.
Come on.
Oh, the Mike Grell artwork, the Steve Lytle artwork, all of the art. In fact, the only person I didn't love doing the artwork was Keith. That was the only
Keith Giffen, really?
Yeah.
See, I didn't have a problem with him, and I'm right there with you, Cliff. I'm with all. Brother John and I have a whole big stack of. Well, he has them all now, but
again, he's one of those people that, depending on who was doing the inks and colors, it shifted a lot. But he was my least favorite one. Whereas Steve, I thought there was like a fun, energetic dynamic to his work.
Yeah.
Steve Lytle was consistent no matter what he worked on.
Exactly. So I really, really liked him. And
Brazil.
I think Mike Grell
I loved that there were George Perez issues. That just blew my mind. That made me so excited.
But wasn't Grell the one that took him from looking like teeny boppers to kind of hot and sexy? I mean, Saturn Girl went from this jumper thing to showing her midriff, and I was like, holy cow, this is a woman now.
Yeah, and look what he did to Cosmic Boy. Jeez. Right. Nobody can get over that. I was like, no, this is fair game. She's half naked, and so is Rock. End of story.
So what did you think about the jump into the future they did? God, that was again, I stuck it out because it was the Legion, but that one was really hard for me, especially when I was younger. I was straight up collecting them just to collect them at one point, because he did a lot of small panel storytelling, a lot of 9-panel pages, and I'm like I wasn't loving that. I'm like, where's the action? I remember
one issue I loved, which was not too much Heath, was the introduction of Laurel Grant. Like who is Laurel, right? It's like that was great.
Mm-hmm.
And of course she became the Supergirl filler for the story. And then the other one I like is when the Dominators are trying to execute their plan on Earth, and they send that Super Dominator, and again, I felt so in love with Laurel. Laurel was my Supergirl, like, right? Laurel freaking fights this thing on her own, nearly to the death, you know? And she's like, oh crap, I gotta warn Earth, like I gotta get to the Legion, and this thing is incredibly powerful. It's like, it was just great, and she's getting her ass beat, and I love that issue. Again, it was like really action packed. But like everything else was like a little bit harder to read. It was like such a hard. It was not an action series so much, right? And I like the action, so that was like, it was hard for me. Obviously, as I got older and did a reread, it's a different story. But at the time it was happening, it was like at the bottom of my pile.
Right, you think something would be called Legion of Superheroes would be packed with action,
right? And it was a lot of stuff. It was a lot of, it was an adult Legion story for sure. It's kind of like going from the original Star Wars trilogy right into Andor. Like that's what it felt like, right? I'm like, oh, I'm over here, we're firing blasters, we're jumping through hyperspace, and then I was like, oh, political intrigue, political power plays.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I mean, I don't hate this, but also, what am I doing here?
Right.
That's how I felt going into the prequels after growing up on the original trilogy, right?
Yeah.
I'm all excited. I go in to watch the prequels, and I'm like, oh, all right, that was that.
So,
well, listen. One thing about the prequels,
at least they had Natalie Portman.
Oh yeah, if only the director actually put her to work as an actress.
Yeah. Well. So if you weren't reading Legion and you weren't reading Superman, what was, was there any Marvel books that mixed in there?
So Marvel comes much later for me. So it starts with me reading Superman. So it was Superman, Adventures of Superman, Superman in Action Comics, grabbing random Superman back issues. Then of course there was Legion. There were some Teen Titans.
Yeah.
Trying to remember
on that, man. That's George Perez all the way, baby.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember.
Goodness.
A 4-issue series called The Weird, because I love that little 4-issue series.
I remember The Weird. That was and it was weird.
That.
I like that. I'm trying to think of like when did I switch to Marvel? My first Marvel comic that I picked up off the rack for myself is Uncanny X-Men 275.
Okay.
So that was
because it was an anniversary issue, or what drew you to it?
Yeah, it's the gatefold Jim Lee cover where they're all in the blue and gold uniform.
Right.
Yeah, gorgeous. I have like 5 copies of it now because I found a bunch in a dollar bin the other day with Sam, and I'm like, nope, we're taking all these, Sam. We're grabbing them all.
These are my anniversary books, baby.
Yeah.
This is when I touched the first Marvel.
They make great giveaway comics, don't they?
Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
I bet I don't have one in the box.
Well, people have such fond memories of that era of X-Men. I mean, and for so many people, that was their gateway into comics right there. And, did you go back and pick up all the Extinction events that were before it and everything to try to figure out what was going on? Or
well, Extinction Agenda happened right around that.
It was just before it. Yeah.
So I was in for Extinction Agenda and all of that.
Okay.
It was just the right time. And then that led to everyone departing to Image, but I still stuck to my Marvel stuff, and I got all the Image #1s at the time. And I mean, Spawn has proven itself to be the real test of time. I did enjoy the original Wildcats.
Yeah.
Then there's a lot of up and down periods with Wildcats. I really enjoyed Stormwatch later on, and then of course that transitioned into the Authority. So I was cool for that. But I'm trying to think, like the 90s, I really stuck hard with the X-Men. And at one point I really enjoyed the New Warriors, because that was I was in 7th grade.
I love the New Warriors.
Yeah.
What sold me on that is they had 2 of my favorite underrated heroes in it, which is Nova, Richard Rider,
Yep.
and Angelica Jones.
Yes, Starfire. Oh my God. And of course, growing up in an age of Starfire as one of the amazing friends, I was
Firestar.
Starfire
every time.
Sorry, Firestar. So yes, Firestar, and then the whole thing with her and Marvel Boy, and it's ridiculous. Like all my friends would of course my friends were like drooling over Psylocke, and I was like, oh, they're comic book characters. I don't feel anything for them, but I totally had a crush on Vance Astrovic. I totally had a crush on Marvel Boy. It was driving me crazy. And then I'm reading Guardians of the Galaxy with alternate future Vance Astrovic, and I'm crushing on him too. And then Alita and Starhawk are switching bodies and personalities. And at one point, it's Dark Starhawk like touching Vance's chest, being like, "It's still me in here." And Vance is like, "This is too weird for me." And I was like, "Stop your homophobia, Vance."
And Vance Asher, he's one of those characters that just hasn't got a lot of love in Marvel. Like they just haven't done anything with him.
They recently reunited him with Firestar, but it only took place in a Marvel Unlimited comic.
Oh, okay.
Because of course,
and there's some question as to whether or not it's real or not, or if it's
it's in continuity, but it's a pain. Like for instance, Romeo suddenly is at the Hellfire Gala, and he is the catalyst for Iceman being alive, right? And a lot of my friends are like, I don't even know who Romeo is. And I'm like, number one, how dare you not read X-Men Blue when the young X-Men were in the present? Number two, I'm like, Romeo came back in the Marvel Unlimited Iceman series, drawn and written by Luciano Vecchio. And we find out that Romeo was trapped in another dimension. So now Romeo is aged up to Bobby's age when he comes back. I always thought one of the saddest things that, again, writers execute things and they don't put enough on the editors too. And I blame editors a lot. I would love some thought about the consequences of your actions, right? Bobby has been in the closet forever. And then, of course, I have friends who have arguments about because Louise was trying to get him out of the closet back in the freaking 80s and her Marvel editors wouldn't hear about it. So I was like, I'm sorry that for ages everybody knew Bobby was gay and all of y'all were not privy to this. But the point is, there's a good story there about someone who is an adult who has not come out yet. And then there's the whole thing where I really love this whole thing with young Iceman falling in love with Romeo, all this stuff that I really connected with. And then Jean does the thing where she implants in their minds a suppression where they're going to forget everything and they're going to go through the portal and right back to the past and go live out their lives. And the implant that once they go through the portal, all that information would now come forward to them, right? And I'm just I can't imagine being Iceman, being that person and having all of that information, having your first love and all that exposure and all that experience flooding to the forefront of your mind, much less what the other guys went through. I mean, I'm not even counting that Cyclops spent extra time with his dad, right? I expected all the X-Men to break down into tears and stuff, right? And we didn't even get that. It was bye, young friends. And I'm like, what?
And I need to talk to Caroline and John, and I need them to explain to me what the different color, why they're called X-Men Gold, X-Men
right.
Blue, X-Men
I
Red.
have no idea
on the color codes.
Well, remember the gold and blue uniform ultimately dictated, we should just be gold and blue teams.
It's really that simple. There wasn't something deeper to it.
I mean, I think some writers came along and addressed it, but I don't think it was that deep, And and we go back and forth on if there should be an X-Men Gold, X-Men Blue. As we got more recent, we got into X-Men Red teams, Immortal X-Men, these people have this council, these people have this. It just got really out of hand.
So is Iceman your favorite X-Men, or is it someone else?
He is one of my favorites currently.
And also, I have no idea who Romeo is, so I'm one of those guys.
Yeah,
so,
me either.
No one does. Romeo is an Inhuman, and his powers are based on running on people's emotions, right? And they meet during that time
where the young X-Men are running around and Marvel is heavily promoting the Inhumans over X-Men.
Yeah.
Right? So that is the time frame in which they meet. And Bobby is a teenager. And the whole time I'm like, how are they doing this? How are they giving Bobby this like full relationship? And I'm like, I know they're going to take it away from him. They got to get these kids back into the past, right? And I keep thinking, no, they're from an alternate dimension. But during Children of the Atom, someone blasted young Cyclops and killed him. And when young Cyclops was dead, present Cyclops vanished. When they resuscitated young Cyclops, present Cyclops reappeared. You know,
so they did a Back to the Future thing. In other words,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what they did.
But that immediately that was an immediate signal to me. Oh crap! This is the real OG team, and they will have to put them back.
Yeah,
you know.
No, I gotta ask you.
I love that Iconic is like I have no idea what Cliff is talking about. It's just great.
I gotta ask you too, guys. Everyone falls into a category with this character, right? And I know firmly where Lady Fantastic falls because she's not shy about stating it. Are you pro Cyclops or anti Cyclops?
I'm pro Cyclops, but like just barely, right?
he's just over the line for you.
Yeah,
he's just over the line, right? But like. There's just no denying. 66666. There's just no denying. Like I love Madeline Pryor because you were totally screwed by Scott and Jean. I mean, like, sure, Jean's like screwed by the universe, but you're totally screwed. They ran off and raised your kid. You gave birth to him. Like, so yeah, when she shows up and she's mad, I'm like, well, you know what? You can't blame a bitch. I'm sorry.
Right. You had it coming. Right.
Yeah, like you kind of had it coming, guys. Like I know there's the whole Goblin Queen thing, but maybe y'all could have been nice to her after that, you know? No. Maybe Ileana didn't have to make her sign a contract to become the Goblin Queen again. Maybe that could have happened.
Now, reading comics, and I could see this being something you particularly would do, because I think you're the type of reader that gets really invested when you're reading.
No.
Was there a certain like what was the first time you were reading a comic? And you just kind of threw it down and went, what the fuck? What's happening here? Like it blew you away, either in a good way or a bad way or an indifferent way. But what was the first time like you found something just so impactful that you were just had that, oh, what the hell just happened moment in comics?
A big what the hell just happened is Superman encountering the Legion because I just didn't know what this was. And the fact that they kind of know him. And then he's got the thought bubble, like, oh, are they friends of the Superboy that I met a few months ago? And then it's like the editor notes, see Crisis on Infinite Earths. So I'm like, like what? Like, so like that one got me. When I finally completed Crisis and I got the death of Supergirl, I legit cried for her death. I think I said,
well, she's the best super. I understand.
Like every time I read the death of Supergirl, from Crisis, I always get emotional, and I'm always kind of upset that that's kind of her finest moment. You know what I mean?
Well,
exactly.
I don't know, because did you read Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow?
That is
my favorite Supergirl story. That is phenomenal.
Crisis, dude. I'm talking about pre-Crisis cars around.
Because that is so good. That
it's a great story. It is, dude. That's a great story. I actually enjoyed Steve Orlando's run on her book. Jamal Igle and Sterling Gates' run on Supergirl and World of New Krypton is super freaking phenomenal. Because like Sterling walked right in there, took all the convoluted Jeff Loeb Supergirl reintroduction stuff with like, my father was trying to murder us. There's crystals that come out of my cuts. All that crap, right? He took all of that and he started fixing it immediately. He had Allura and Zor-El being like, oh no, she's got kryptonite crystal poisoning. We have to use our technology to save her. That's why she's going mad. And I'm like, I love it. This is a great way to fix all this.
Right?
They threw her in a chamber, sonic blasted her, got the kryptonite poisoning or chrysalis poisoning out of her, got her back on track, took her to New Krypton. She joined the Science Guild, even though she took after her dad, but she figured if she joined the Science Guild, she'd kind of get to be, she kind of connect with what kind of person her mom is. So much good stuff. So, like, that's Supergirl now. Supergirl.
And I like that in the new Power Girl comic that they're becoming besties.
Yeah.
Yes, which is I feel is necessary because I feel like Kara Zor-El is such a loner, There's one Superman comic where he's testing all the Kryptonians on Earth, and Power Girl leaves the fortress, and the results are still she's not this kind of Kryptonian. She's not right, but she flies away. Clark is looking at her, and he goes, "She's Kryptonian in her own way." And I'm just like, oh, but like I always like want her to have a little more love. So like seeing her when they reintroduced Action Comics, and she was like part of the Super Squad, right? Like she was invited to the club. Like that's nice. Her and Supergirl really bonding right now. I really love it. It makes me feel like they're part of it.
The Power Girl book is good right now too. I'm loving it.
Yeah. Well, what a great setup. And you've got a Kryptonian disease on you. Only it's your Krypton's disease.
Right.
Yeah. I'm like, damn. I'm like, well, you sucked me in.
And then Superman was a dick at first and didn't believe her. Oh, you're overreacting, Paige. There's nothing like that out there.
Also, why are we calling her Paige? Because Power Girl is short for. I do not approve of that. I like Karen Starr. I want more Karen Starr. But Paige.
Like Star Industries. And then they messed up her origin a bunch too when they tied her to Aryan.
Oh God! Don't even mention that.
But again, Jeff Johns corrected that. Jeff Johns shows up with Psycho Pirate, and Psycho Pirate's like, "No, the universe has been messing with you because you don't fit here because you're not from here." Again, some of the best fixes are just like, dude, that whole little Power Girl scenario where like every part of the timeline is trying to correct. You got people from the Legion of Superheroes being like, "No, you're our daughter, and we sent you back in time to protect you." And it's this like, nope, this is the time stream trying to fix you, but they're wrong. They're wrong.
Well, that too, and I like that 4-issue mini they had of her too, when like she was just getting her butt handed to her, and then she just went to the regular instructor of a self-defense class, and she just started like, yeah, I have this power, but he's right. I don't know how to fight. I'm just powerful.
I love that, but I didn't love it because if we're supposed to bring back the continuity that we had, like we were like Rebirth and Doomsday Clock and stuff was supposed to give us back our lost continuity. So in our lost continuity, Justice League International Power Girl learned how to fight her ass off. Diana taught her shit. Like it was shit. I mean, when Wonder Woman has taught you combat moves, right. So like the fact that like we kind of have to accept that Justice League International existed, but we're kind of gonna forget that Power Girl learned any of that stuff, because I want to tell this story.
But I just like the awareness that just because you get powers doesn't mean you can fight. Sometimes, I just thought it was a good. I thought it was a good hook.
It is a good hook, and for new readers, it's cool. But I've been around long enough that this sort of thing bothers me and doesn't impress me much. Just like Evil Raven. I've been here from the 80s. I've seen more than enough Evil Raven. None of this impressed me. It did not impress me. It is not impressing me. It's annoying me. And y'all are trivial. Y'all are pedestrian. Stop it.
I'm like that with what they do with Peter Parker all the time. Look, stop breaking up Peter Parker and Mary Jane. The book's always better when they're together. When you break it up, they both characters suffer.
Well, Gary, I've got news for you. There's a little book called Ultimate Spider-Man, and it is amazing and chock full of Peter Parker and Mary Jane being married and having children and adults, and Peter learning how to be Spider-Man later in life, and it's wonderful.
And that's what I want in the movies. Like, why does every time they redo Spider-Man, they put him back in high school? I want the Peter Parker that I was reading when I was growing up too, when he was trying to teach at Empire University. He was, he was trying to juggle.
Maybe it's time to age him up a little bit.
Juggle. There's good adult Peter Parker stories to tell. You can tell those stories as well.
I know, but when you, unfortunately, what do you call it? The cultural zeitgeist? Is that what we want to
Yeah,
use?
that's what
The
you
culture.
say.
So the
Yeah.
cultural collective. Think about Peter's best stories, and all of Peter's best stories are high school and college.
I disagree.
Mhm.
Oh no, I'm not telling you. I'm not telling you as a matter. I'm saying culturally, culturally, people associate Peter's best stories, and therefore Peter's best stories take place then.
And even that 90s cartoon where he was an adult was fantastic.
But again, he's still at Empire State University, keeping the cultural collective with Peter is of this age.
But when you think about that, you're talking about your first 250 or so issues of Amazing Spider-Man, your first 60 or 70 issues of Peter Parker, Spectacular Spider-Man, pretty much the entire run of Marvel Team Up. For so many people, especially our age, that is quintessential Spider-Man.
Right
there. And they don't necessarily think about when you get a little bit farther into ASM, when he gets that cheap apartment with the 3 bikini girls who like to sunbathe at the top that he had to try to avoid. It was like 262 or something, right around there. Before he marries Mary Jane, they forget about that part of him. They're still remembering him, juggling as the grad student and the undergraduate student and the grad student, trying to deal with all that stuff. Right. So,
and again, because behind the scenes, the product is for younger people, right? So and that is why a lot of us age out of a lot of these things, I mean, I feel fortunate because I wade in and out. I'm like, no, you ruined this. I could never. And I'm like, oh, this thing is really great. I'm having a wonderful time over here. So many of my X-Men buddies are like, no, Bobby's gay. I could never go back. And I'm like, oh my God, Bobby's gay. I'm loving this. Look, he's living in San Francisco right now, trying to find himself. He's having a reunion with the champions. And everyone's like, hate you, Cliff. And I was like, I love it. I'm sorry.
No, the Champions, that was a series I really liked. It was all over the place, but I loved the Champions. And, that's one of those titles that deserved a longer run than it had, in my opinion.
Yeah, 17 issues, But hey, we still talk about it today.
Right. I think the worst part of the Champions was probably Angel.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Angel. They really didn't know what to do. Angel was literally just dropped everywhere, right? He's in multiple issues of Dazzler. He's over in the Champions.
They got the Kiss
really
cover.
Don't know what to do. When they Beast is hanging out in the Avengers, and when they really don't know what to do, what do? They're like, Beast, Iceman, Angel, the Defenders, off you go.
So I'm curious, Cliff, what did you think about that run of Defenders? Especially with the really curious lineup they had there.
I'm still collecting it. My goal this year is to complete the classic Defenders, into the end of New Defenders. Which from the few issues I have, it looks like they actually got kind of pretty close to X-Boys, got kind of close to Moondragon.
Right.
Yeah.
So and that's the thing too. That's a big arc, and just because it wasn't popular and stuff, why do we have to brush it to the side? Right. Why do we have to forget that 3 X-Men spent a great deal of time hanging out with Moondragon? Some people get it, some don't. There was an X-Men comic I read in the past year.
Or with the Avengers, sometimes some of the X-Men spend a good chunk of time with Avengers.
Oh, how about when they were trying to decide what to do about Wanda, right? And they had that big meeting, and the Quinjet lands, and Jarvis addresses Wolverine as Master Logan, and Beast is standing right there and nothing. And I was like, and all I'm thinking is, how dare you?
Right, because Beast spent a long time with the Avengers.
Yeah.
Right. I was like, Jarvis knows exactly who the hell Hank McCoy is.
Damn right.
Well, hi, Wolverine. It's just locking out Beast.
No, he's like, no, I know between the editing and the writer, right? Because I'm like, Bendis, you should know better. How dare you? I know you know.
Never ask Brian Michael Bendis to keep track of continuity. He just sort of writes something.
I do. But the thing is, I get it, and you're right. But at the exact same time, I know he knows, right?
Well, I would hope he knows, but then you just get this serious you look at it and you go, what the hell did you just do? It's not like Grant Morrison, where Grant Morrison just, takes a couple of drugs and starts writing something and you forgive him because it's Grant Morrison. With Bendis, you're expecting a really coherent, tight story that's connected to everything. And then you get, oh yeah, we're going to throw Jessica Drew in here. We don't know who Jessica Drew is.
But again, so like I've decided, talking to all these writers over the years and listening to all these interviews or just talking to them in person, the whole hodgepodge, right? Like I decided he's a campfire writer. I think a lot of the writers are campfire writers, right? And when I say campfire writers, this is a term I've stolen from
Boy Scouts,
who's done a million things, whose name is not coming to me. But the point is, this guy has been on Smallville. This guy has been on the Clone Wars. This guy has been in Star Wars video games. This guy has worked with Filoni, blah, 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 blah. And he was talking to Filoni. He's like, oh, I'm working on an audiobook, but they're making all these changes. And he goes, dude, we live in a campfire society. That campfire is telling the story that way. Our campfire is telling the story this way. It's like, that's what's happening. Different campfires telling the same story. So there's going to be changes. And I think a lot of writers have just adopted that mentality. So now I've adopted that. Okay, you're a campfire writer, right? And then we have some people who are really all about it. And they're decent writers, but then they have like no editorial supervision whatsoever, right? Stuff is just flying out the door. And I'm like, where is your editor? Your editor should have stopped you from this.
Yeah, you missed the days of Mark Grunwald, who, looks at the script and goes, well, it can't be that because in panel 4 of issue Captain America 310, the character had blue eyes, and instead you're claiming he's got brown eyes and does this. Go send it back and rewrite the thing,
Yeah. I mean, like, maybe that's a harsher editor, but I feel like a good editor would just be like, "Hey, I'm making a change to your story." Right. I feel like if you really screwed the pooch, it's like you have to rewrite this. But I feel like if it's one little thing that can be addressed, it's like, as your editor, I'm addressing this change. I'm making you aware of it, and we're sending it to press. So I miss the days of the harsh editor, and even the editor is like, I got to stop you there, buddy. I miss that because, even people who made the little footnotes, like this took place in Adventure Comics 247. Great. Thank you for letting me know.
And you don't see a lot of that anymore.
But how much harder does it get for these editors to edit when you keep adding decades of history on the comics and different iterations?
That's what Google's for.
Yeah.
Listen, Google's for that. I respect how they moved into a volume system to some degree. I do think it's annoying that there's how many volumes of Amazing Spider-Man now? Like, that's a lot.
Because what continuity do you hold them to at some point when a character's been reintroduced so many times and their origin retold in different ways,
I think that's what I get sick of with the Joker.
She is.
You know, I get sick of Batman with the Joker all the time. I purposely wouldn't get Batman just because for the longest time it was just Joker. And once they switched to anybody else, I'd be like, all right, let me read Batman and see what he does with this actually not Joker person. So
dude. And when freaking the Batman Who Laughs was literally everywhere, I was so nauseated.
Yeah,
I don't like the Joker. I'm the against the grain guy. Everyone loves the Joker. I've never liked the character.
And I'm not saying that I've never enjoyed a Joker story. Sometimes somebody comes along and knocks it out of the park.
Yeah,
right. But that's because they're a good writer.
Right, but when you just keep throwing it at me because this is what sells comics, get out.
Yeah,
well, especially when he's got a whole gallery of villains that he can fight against.
Well, you look at like the 1970s detectives and whatnot, and granted they were doing the Ra's al Ghul storyline, but he's often fighting against gangsters and mobsters and stuff. You know, and now he's going up against Darkseid and taking him out, while he's still eating his bat lunch out of his pocket. I mean, it's it gets kind of crazy, and I'm with you, Cliff. I don't need 5 million Joker stories.
No,
give me one good Joker story. Let's leave the Joker alone for a couple of years, and then we can come back and we can revisit him. But
Now, Cliff, I'm going to ask you this because I have mine that bug me, and I'm sure you have yours that bug you. One of the biggest tropes that I hate in comics is taking a villain and turning them into an anti-hero to give them their own publication.
Oh my
Magneto!
God.
What are some of
Magneto!
what is your biggest tropes that you hate in comic book writing?
You just named it all the time. You know, and listen, I love the hell out of Magneto, but Magneto was a very, very, very bad man.
Yeah, he was.
Like we can't pretend that the man wasn't a mass murderer at one point. And
No.
yet we try. We really try. You know?
They put a little longer hippie hair on him. Hey, peace and love.
I mean, like we sent him to trial. I left him in charge of the school. Isn't that good?
Right?
We're gonna find out when we watch X-Men '97.
I was just gonna say that because that was in the trailer.
But of course, we know that material is based on those comics of the time where like Xavier like had to go to space because you know that was a legit problem. There was a brood trying to take over him.
Right? I want some booty. Come on, man.
Oh, of course there was Shi'ar booty too. I mean, like let's not deny that. You know, he wanted that Lilandra. We know it.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. That trope always bugs me. Or the heroes are dead set against other people, and they have to set them right. But the one person does one good thing, and their whole history is given a pass now.
Right.
Oh, please. Oh my God. Like, how about, oh my God. In a recent, so I love at the time of Astonishing X-Men, it's just like Kitty walking past Emma in the hallway. It was like, what should I try? Are you again going to remind me that I should forget about all the times you try to kill us? Right.
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 So we get that tension in the early 2000s. And then just before the Hellfire Gala, Emma, I think about if I went to school with you instead of Xavier. I think about that choice all the time. Shut the hell up. You're not my Kitty Pryde. I'm like, you're a fake. Stop it. Your name isn't Kate. It's Kitty. Number one. Number two, you hated this woman. You spit in her face when she tried to join the X-Men. Who are you, Kitty? You're not the Kitty I know who remembers her trying to kill everybody.
Well, I'll say Emma was just down.
That means we're not going to ask you about Pete Winsome, right? So we're not going to ask you about Pete Wisdom, right?
Yes,
yes. Mastermind, yes.
Yeah, I think that bugs a lot of people, Gary. I think you're right. It's one of those things that you're just like, what are you doing to this? This guy. I mean, God, if they even thought about touching Doom that way, people would riot. People would absolutely riot.
Oh, I'm sorry. Would they riot? Or did we forget about Future Foundation?
Yeah, I don't know what that is. I'm ignoring that.
You see that, Jim?
I'm ignoring that.
What, Jim? No one's immune.
I'm ignoring that. I didn't read that. I'm ignoring that.
Oh yeah. Oh, how convenient it is to ignore it. And that's how we get by, Jim. Just ignore the shit. Just ignore it until someone comes along and kind of gets it right where you can enjoy it.
I just can't. I just can't. I couldn't do it.
So for you, Cliff,
Doom the way it is.
Outside of Magneto, what was the most egregious moment in comics that did that to you? We're like, you assholes. Why would you even put this out there? Yes, they did. No.
Yeah, but I ignored it.
Oh my God!
Or when they try to make like a good hero instantly bad, like they've done that a few times with Superman, right? Oh, he's got red kryptonite. Now he's a douchebag.
Yeah,
I think the one that stands out the most there would be Speedy. They were quickly trying to turn Speedy into a villain, and then they reintroduced the Red Hood, Jason Todd, villainous, then work him into anti-hero.
Right.
Then we just kind of washed away the whole Speedy as a villain thing because that was just not flying. Who else have we got? God, there's just so many. Like, I hate it too. I'm just kind of like I just kind of put up a wall. Like if you name something to me that like I will like fly off the handle. Like
okay, I'm gonna name something.
Dark Crisis makes me fly off the handle. Dark Crisis.
So Cliff, going back to the X-Men, Alex Summers.
Alex Summers, Havoc?
Yes, they've made him bad again, or they've like flipped him like 3 times. So
I mean, he's currently not bad, but he was resuscitated from the dead by Madeline, so we don't know how much he's acting of his own accord.
Right.
But still, great story. I'm really sad. I keep hearing the X-Men rumor mill. And by the way, the gays, we are all over the X-Men rumor mill. We are absolute savages. We are like, you don't understand that the ex-gays community. Well, wait, that sounds wrong. That sounds like people who want to camp. Okay. The queer X-Men loving community, we are savages. People eating up information every day. It is over the top. From that side of things, I get bombarded with X-Men news. And they're usually right, much to my chagrin.
Is he right? Like, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, no, just that. So yeah, it looks like they may be setting Madeline up as a villain. Once this next X-Men reboot, the post-Krakoa age starts up again. And the fact, of course, that they're going to be setting Madeline up as a villain in X-Men 97 only lends itself to that, which really annoys me. It annoys the hell out of me to reset comics to align with something you're doing on television or movie. Just pisses me off. That's a comic trope that pisses me off.
And
resetting things to align with films and television and bullshit. Oh.
And I have like character specific ones that bug me. Like I said, with Peter Parker. Oh, every writer comes out. Oh, what are we going to do to make it interesting? Oh, I know. We'll break him and MJ up. It's like, all right, stop doing that, right? With Superman. Oh, what are we going to do with Superman? Oh, I know. We just found out about a different form of kryptonite. For a planet that blew up, lots of different forms of kryptonite pop up all over the damn place, right?
Well, they've addressed the multicolors of kryptonite many times.
Yeah, but to me, it's a lazy trope. If you can't decide what to do and you want them to act a certain way, you introduce a new form of kryptonite, and it's
you don't even have to introduce a new form. Red has random effects on him. That's all you need.
Right, and or Green or Lantern rings too. Oh, there's a new color ring now. It's just,
no, I don't. We haven't. I think we haven't had a new one since Blackest Night took place.
Yeah,
and they're all rather fascinating on their own. I'm like, hopefully we're not going back to more of that. Although the Gold Lantern ring did show up for the last incarnation of Legion of Superheroes, but we did not get more information on that. So. Oh my God, the organic webbing. Oh my God. When freaking I don't even know her name. All right. What the hell was her name? Who was she? Tessa or however the hell she was, that whatever the spider creature she was, and she freaking cocooned Peter. And then after that, all of a sudden, I've got to maintain my dietary fiber so I can shoot organic webbing.
It's Peter having a middle-age crisis is what it is at that point. So.
And Mel, give us a little information. Today is Superman's birthday.
Yes, it is February 29th. I have not been celebrating properly. I haven't. My precious Superman. I've not been celebrating properly.
But what we're talking about Superman, because I wanted to get back to it because it was one of the first things you mentioned growing up. You're like, when I was watching Superman. Now, instantly in my mind, what pops into my head is George Reeves, because that was of the time for me. I was watching the reruns of George Reeves as a kid, the serials. But who was your Superman growing up?
It's Christopher Reeve. Do you know how I found out about George Reeves? It's convoluted. I fall in love with Superman. I'm obsessed with Superman Christopher Reeve movies. My mom mentions Superman on television. My father knows about Superman on television. Everybody knows about this Superman on television, but it's not airing anywhere at all. I've read the end of Man of Steel #1. I read the editorial, and John Byrne writes this whole thing about getting Superman, how his first episode of Superman with George Reeves is the Haunted Lighthouse. And I'm out of my mind because I'm like, why does everybody know about this thing that I can't get my hands on? I can't see it. Right?
For the record,
yes.
Christopher Reeve will always be my ideal Superman.
Yeah.
But anyway, go back to your rant.
So this is going on. I'm really upset about it. Everyone talks about it. I'm real mad because I don't know about it. And it's still the early 80s. We just don't have access to stuff. The stuff is not on VHS. Like, it's just not present. Right? But it is in syndication, just nowhere near me.
Right.
So my mom comes home from work one day. Her coworker had a friend, or no, sorry, her coworker has a cousin who lived way upstate in New York, and his local station was airing reruns of the Munsters and Star Trek and the Adventures of Superman. And she came to me with 2 VHS cassettes packed with 6 hours each of the Adventures of Superman.
How happy were you?
I lost my mind. I put in tape 1, and tape 1 was with Phyllis Coates, and it was immediately Superman the Mole Men Part 1 and Part 2, which later I would find out was actually a feature film, and then they broke it up into 2 episodes. So I watched that. That one looked really good. I was impressed. I thought the flying looked amazing, right?
Right.
And then of course they aired the episodes out of order. So I'm watching tape 1, and then tape 1 suddenly has color episodes. And I'm like, oh my God, no, there's color episodes. I'm like, honestly, I don't even remember there being color episodes. Then I get to tape 2, the second episode on tape 2, The Haunted Lighthouse.
Okay.
I felt I've
never seen that one.
Like you feel like you feel like you've come full circle on something, right? I was like, oh my God, I'm watching The Haunted Lighthouse. This is the one John Byrne referenced in Man of Steel #1. I'm like, it is just, I don't know, I'm 10, 11, 12 at this point. I'm losing my shit over this. I really am.
This is the best.
You know? And then very shortly around that time, Superman's 50th anniversary shows up, right?
Yeah.
And because it was Superman's 50th anniversary, what did they do? 2 VHS cassettes with multiple episodes of The Adventures of Superman, right? That store, Lloyd's, I told you about, which did almost everything, they had VHS tapes there. So I found the Captain Marvel movie serial there, right?
Right.
And I found Stamp Day for Superman on VHS there.
Nice.
So that's my next George Reeves one. Then the 2 collectors George Reeves one that came out. And then also for Superman's 50th anniversary, the very first Kirk Allen movie serial on VHS. And the first thing that I noticed, oh, thank you, Katie. The first thing that I noticed when I put that VHS in, and let me tell you, I watched that shit all weekend long. I put it in 9 in the morning on Saturday, and somewhere around 9 o'clock at night, my brother's like, "You're still watching Superman, whatever this is?" And I was like, "I love it." I was like, and Noel Neal is in it. And Noel Neal is the second Lois Lane with George Reeves. I was like, why didn't anybody know this? And they're like, "Cliff, you got to say." I was like, "I don't care. I love it. I'm just watching it." You know,
give it some cereal.
Yeah.
I was curious if you knew about it.
Yeah, because I was piecing it together. But I was piecing it together in my way, right? Like I got those VHS tapes. I realized who Phyllis Coates was. I realized who Noel Neal was. I realized that one left and the other came in. I'm watching the movie serial and realizing, oh my God, look at Noel Neal. Like, it's amazing. When I met her, I even told her, I was like, oh my God, it's like being one of those presidents that served a term, missed some years, came in and did another term. she's like, I don't feel like that, but thanks. Like,
she's like, you compare me to Grover Cleveland. What the hell? I mean, really,
yeah,
you know?
Well, no, I didn't mean to, but like, because I felt like it was like really special that she got to be Lois twice in 2 very different environments,
right?
You know, and she was like, "Listen, the most important lesson I can tell you is I only wish I got paid."
Yeah,
exactly.
Dude, and she's like, "Do you know about all those Kellogg's cereal commercials?" I was like, yes, I do. I saw that. She goes, "Do you notice I'm not in any of them?" I'm like, oh my God, no. They're like, because they thought it would be inappropriate for Clark and Lois Lane to be having breakfast together, because what would that say to people? And I told the producers, you have Clark and Jimmy Olsen having breakfast together. What is that saying to people?
Right.
And I was like, you know what? It's a good point. I was like, and I always thought Jimmy was very cute, you know? And then she told me, and then she's like, oh, well, you can ask Kimmel about that. If you meet him, you could talk to him about when he was dating this one and that one. And I was like, and then all of a sudden I'm like, Eric Larson's, I was like, what? I'm like, Jimmy Olsen's gay? I was like, okay, new information.
And then you're back to processing again, right?
May they both rest in peace. The one time I was able to see them at a show together because she convinced him that it would be a good experience to come out. And they love each other. They love each other, these two. And they still would not agree on how George died. He absolutely believes that George kills himself, and she absolutely believed that somebody murdered him.
Wow.
Live and in person, they had this point of view. They each died believing different things.
Well, and it's weird because when you read about George Reeves in media, he killed himself.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
but we are all aware of the mystery.
Yeah.
What
So
do you
Cliff,
believe? What do you believe, Cliff?
You know what? I'm leaning towards suicide, but all those bullet holes in that bedroom definitely leaves the question for me. Right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's too strange. And she's like, I don't know. She's like, the woman he was sleeping with was connected to an awful lot of bad people. And I was like, I'm with you, Noel. I'm with you.
So Cliff, on a slightly happier Superman topic here, we hope. What do you think of the Fleischer cartoons from the 40s?
Oh my God, another obsession of mine when I was a kid. Dude, it's so funny. You know what I love about telling these stories? It's like there's no internet. There's nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
It's us, the phone book, and what's in front of us. So my mom is like getting my godmother, who's her cousin, to like pick up some stuff for me for Christmas. So she's just like, oh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. She goes, well, he's obsessed with these Superman cartoons. And my mom would tell her which video cassette I had and read the serial number off the spine to be like, these are the ones he has. Don't get these, to ensure that she would get different Fleischer Supermans for me.
Wow.
And they are beautiful.
Yeah. I remember going out and getting the remastered DVD set when it came out in the 90s.
Yes.
And just being so excited and showing them to my kids when they came out, when my kids watched it, and they were like, this is really cool. I said, guys, this was made during World War II. And they're like, no way was that made during. I said, no, that was made during World War II.
Yeah.
And
lots of hand painting going on. It was, and they're beautiful.
So which one is your favorite one from that era?
The one where the Lois gets kidnapped by those flying robots, right? And like one basically like puts her into his backpack, and Superman sees it with the X-ray vision, and he's got. Well, I think he flies into the volcano to save her, right? Because like that's their hideouts. I love that one. I love it. I love the cape. Him using the cape to protect them from the lava. I just love it. Yeah. And when they did the theatrical release of Superman the movie for the anniversary of Superman the movie, that was the cartoon they chose to show before Superman the movie. I thought that was, and I was like, I'm so happy.
Now I got to ask you too, because there's been a lot of other television Superman. So who is your favorite television Superman? Like Tom Welling?
Tyler is taking the win.
Huh?
Tyler
Hoechlin?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I wish they wouldn't. I mean, I wish they wouldn't cancel that show. I like that show a lot.
Oh, I do, but I also understand that it's a whole budgetary thing, and like I'm tired. I'm tired of battling the world and their budgets. And the thing is, the show is pretty good. And yes, they're all different, and I love all the different things. But this one was just a good, solid one I could connect with.
Right. And and I always thought Smallville was weird, and I know people love that series. My best friend Michael Cologne, it's his favorite Superman series. But I always thought it was weird that you make a whole series that you don't even put him in the costume.
I didn't watch it for years. Do you know when I started officially watching Smallville? When Supergirl showed up. That's way late in the series. And then when I was really getting into it, I was like, I'm really just watching for Laura Voorhees or whatever her name is. And
she is so beautiful.
Yeah.
And she's a lovely person, by the way. Lovely. I love meeting her. I talked to her. Dude, talking to her about Smallville and V was wonderful. She was literally running set to set and changing like Supergirl set to set to go and film both shows. Because there was overlap at one point in her life. And I was like, damn, girl, I love it. Good thing they were filming in Canada.
She's one of those women, Laura Vandervoort, when she comes on screen, she's so strikingly beautiful. You you just get caught up with her.
Yeah.
Hey, forget the beautiful. How about her episode of Supergirl as Brainiac? Right? Season 1. And then when she's beating the hell out of Supergirl, because Brainiac was also part of the technology that brought Supergirl's ship to Earth, right? Laura, is smacking around Melissa, and she's like, "You wouldn't be here without me. You would be nothing without me." And I'm like, "Oh, so much." Like, oh, this is the best episode ever.
I also thought Melissa Benoist was a good Supergirl as well.
She's a great Supergirl, but I love that they got to film that episode together. And one of my heartbreaks is they could not get Laura back to be Brainiac one more time.
Right. Like when
the Indigo version, but still.
Because when she got cast from Glee, I was like, yes.
Yeah, I was happy they had Helen Slater in there as Supergirl's
announcement. Helen Slater's even in Helen Slater trucked it to the finale. She was there from episode 1 right to the finale. She's just like, yeah.
And you know what? That's still a guilty pleasure movie I love to watch is that Supergirl with Helen Slater.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? And since we're fortunate enough to have a director's version of it, I love the director's cut. The director's cut.
Ooh, I've never seen director's cut.
So, like, the director's cut has 10 extra minutes. And actually, I think if you have the Blu-ray of it, it might be more than 10 extra minutes for the Blu-ray version. But you actually get to see Selene be truly cruel to people. She's got this dinner party and she does horrible stuff to this guest that she's jealous of, right? And I don't know. There's something, and of course we get a little more intimate time with Supergirl. There's something about the way the movie sells it with a little bit of extra footage where I was like, oh, she's like a more solid villain and we've got a little bit more of a solid heroine. And it takes, in my heart, the movie itself is like a 6.5. But when I watch the extended cut, it takes it to like a 7.2.
That's oddly specific, Cliff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like
not a 7.3, a 7.2.
Yeah, I feel like it's listen, when it comes to my measurement scales, I've always enjoyed a 7.25. But that's why I tell the boys 7 or better. But yeah, I like the extended cut enough that I'm happy.
See, I gotta see it now.
Yeah. I do, but I mean, like since the early 2000s, the Supergirl you get, I think, has the extra 10 minutes.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the characters we haven't got a bad Supergirl. Even though
that movie is not wonderful, she's still a good Supergirl.
Yes. And like as far as the Supermen go, everyone doesn't like the Brandon Routh one. That's not his fault. He was a great Superman.
And he redeemed
the problem.
He redeemed. He was fabulous on Crisis on Infinite Earths, the CW crossover. He did great reprising Superman for that.
And he was that was a script problem. That wasn't a Brandon Routh problem. I mean, well, how do you write a script and make a Superman movie where he doesn't punch one single person?
Yeah.
Well, we could talk to Tom Taylor about that.
And also let's the one thing you talk about villains that you're tired of it for me, Lex Luthor, right? Why every time you have him in a movie, why is he a real estate mogul? Just stop. Make him a legit threat. Make him this mastermind that he's supposed to be. Like, he's so smart, he can develop things that are such a threat that even as a human, he's a threat to Superman. But you don't know he likes real estate, and that really gets in Superman's craw.
We almost got there. But I'm not going to get into it.
Oh, she was definitely hot in Billie Jean.
Jesse Eisenberg was almost it, but he was a little too crazy for me.
Yeah.
See, now, and I want a Power Girl movie now. You know?
Yeah, but
we've had all these different Supergirls. Why not a Power Girl? Then you can, or just make a team-up movie between her and Supergirl.
It's a tier thing. She's not high tier, right? And then it's like, and it's
explain it.
Thing,
but we have the unknown over at DC now, and that's James Gunn, who will take anything and develop it if he thinks that it's got a good angle that'll work.
Yes, let's see how that goes. He doesn't make me worry. He doesn't make me worry and lose sleep week after week. Of course not.
Yeah, but at least he's willing to take chances where some of these other people in charge just wanted to do the same cookie cutter bullshit over and over again.
I agree, and that's definitely been a problem for Marvel movies for sure. However, it still scares the hell out of me because the weight of what he must accomplish is grand, you know?
Yeah.
Superman gonna bring you Mr. Terrific, right?
Yes, they are.
Well,
I don't think James
Gunn would accept the role either if he didn't think he was up to the job.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping the Superman project, because I believe today they officially dropped the name Legacy from the movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
That one image was cool because it looked like he was at the Fortress of Solitude. I'm just drawing that because there was snow on the thing. I saw it on Mark Legion of Comics post.
Yes.
Yeah.
The shape of the S, of course, bothers me. Why we can't have a classic Jose Garcia Lopez Superman shield is really bothering me, but sure. You know, let's do this, guys. Let's
trademark. He has to go with the other version. I don't know. I'm just saying.
I think it'd be great to have a. Oh, go ahead, Dan.
No, I'm just excited because he's gonna. It's like Gary said, man. He's bringing out. You know, he's bringing out the peacemaker of the DC universe, man. He's bringing out like Metamorpho and these odd characters that nobody's ever heard of, and he's probably gonna spin it and make it gold. People are gonna be like, I never heard of this, but this is cool.
Jim, you're slightly preaching to the choir, but also I hear this all the time, and it doesn't stop me from being a nervous wreck. We are in a troubling and toxic time for the superhero film. So,
True.
like, he's got to. This has got to be phenomenal. Like, it's like the pressure inside that I feel for him, because like it's got to be great. It's got to, because it's not. This era is already being referred to as James Gunn's DCU, and if that movie doesn't do gangbusters, right, that's how we're going to close the casket on this era of DCU film. James Gunn's DCU, casket closed.
Cliff, it's a damn shame that Sir Sean Connery is dead. Otherwise, we could go back to your very first Superman comic and have a Vartox cameo in the new Superman movie.
Oh my God, Vardos. Oh my God. We did a rewatch of that for the Council of Comics. God help us. And we watched off of our friend's Laserdisc, a Laserdisc that did no touch-up for the transfer. So we're watching it like a VHS level copy on the Laserdisc on this gorgeous projector, and we're just absolutely stunned by what, like, it's just all so bad. And then the end of the movie comes, and we're like, yo, he spent all this time with the, why did he grab this chick at the end? What's her significance that he ran off with her? Like, I was like, what is this? I was like, and this was all because of the Wizard of Oz? I was like, what the hell?
And if Undercut Comics doesn't have first ticket to go see the Metamorpho movie, I'm going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
Metamorpho movie?
Well, the movie that he's in.
Okay.
I
love that guy.
I don't want to put false information. The movie that he's appearing in, because Joe's a big Metamorpho guy.
I love that actor. I loved him on Gotham. I love him on Barry, where he plays NoHo Hank. I'm actually fairly excited to see him get to work.
Yeah. I think they'll do some form of the Terrifics. I really do.
Yeah.
Sure, possibly. But still, this hodgepodge that he's thrown together for this movie I'm nervous. I'm just nervous. I want to be more positive, but I'm super nervous.
We'll hold your hand through the whole thing. We'll make you feel all right.
Can you imagine if I arranged to go do my premiere viewing with Digger? It'll be Digger and Brother John. It'll be great.
Now
come up there and be like, all right, it's going to be okay, Cliff.
Now we are approaching the hour and 15 mark, so we'll try to cut it off here in a second. So what I'm going to do is,
you barely asked me anything.
I know. That's all right. We'll have you back for another one.
Yeah, I think you can.
Because we didn't even get into anything anything else. We just went off on a super tangent, which was awesome. But we're going to go through each person here and have them ask a last question. So we'll start with you, Chuck, if you have a last question.
Sure thing. So, Cliff, looking behind you there, I've been looking at that lovely Shazam #1 you've got back there.
Yes.
Shazam, your next favorite DC character? Is he right up there close to Superman?
He's close to Superman. I have a lot of love for him.
Good.
You know, he's my whimsical Superman.
And the old TV show where a boy got in a van with a guy and got.
Yes, dude,
and it was legal.
Not weird at all, is it?
and you know the Shazam actor, the Shazam actor who played Billy in the movie series is in an episode as a guest star in the Shazam TV series.
Mm-hmm.
So when I met that actor, he's like, "Oh, I got to work with him, and it was so great." And I was like, "And I got to be in the new Shazam movie." And I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm in that, whatever they're calling it." I'm like, "Fury of the Gods." And of course, as soon as I saw the movie, there he was. And he is lovely. He's so happy to do anything and everything that people throw at him. He loves it. He really misses working on that show. He told me how lovely everyone at the Brady Bunch was to him when he guest starred on one of the episodes of the Brady Bunch. It's just great.
Wow.
All right, Jim, do you have another question?
I don't.
Really, Jim?
I don't.
Are you tired?
I think you've exhausted me with all your.
No, Jim. No, I was expecting you to have the fireballs,
baby. So if I'm going to Heroes Con, are you going to Heroes Con?
As Mark would say, I'll see you there, but that doesn't mean that that's my actual answer.
Okay.
All right. Well, my final question, Cliff. If you could have
here we go.
A cameo in any comic and be killed off in it, who's killing you off in the comic? Who's writing that comic and who's drawing it? So you're the author of your own death scene in a comic.
I don't want that.
You're gonna ask the Rob
but you know what? But you know what? I will tell you this. I did think of it. I have a whole bunch of notes for my own comic book universe. And I thought a really weird Liefeld X thing to do would be I have an annual for that universe, but an annual would feature a multiverse story of me, right?
Yeah.
And in this story, there's like a multiverse tear and the other versions of me assemble. And I actually do appear in a couple of comic books, Molly Danger being one of them, right? So I figured we'll pull those characters from those worlds as being on this patrol. And there's one really awesome Starfleet-esque version of me. And this me is in complete awe of him. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, you're 6'3". You've got beautiful muscles. You're so confident. I love your hair, right? And when he's going out to repair the tear, and he's got this little transformer with him that's going to help him repair the tear, I'm the one working the cable to get him back. And the cable gets stuck, and I can't get him back. And the other Cliffs try to help me to pull him in, and it doesn't work, and he dies repairing the tear. Oh. And I am traumatized by what just happened. And then all of us go home, and then the next in line, who's the firefighter version of me, is like, you know, if something happens again, like I'll send the alerts, right? And he takes off. But like we'll end that first annual with the League of Cliffs with me devastated that like the best Cliff got destroyed because I couldn't wheel him back in.
Holy crap.
But you didn't,
we gotta get that
all the question though. Who's writing it and who's drawing it?
I'm writing it, and my ideal artist for it is I got two. I would like it to be Jamal Igle, or I would like it to be Jamal Igle's one of them because he drew one of the versions of me. I appear in Molly Danger, and then the other, it's a cliffhanger. Haha, I guess true. And then, oh my God, who was my runner up for this? I really love them. Oh my God, they worked on Justice League. Brett Booth is my other one because I feel like when he draws super gorgeous Admiral Cliff, like he's gonna nail it. He's gonna really nail
it. From Sony, there you go.
Across the Cliffyverse, I love it. I love it, Tate. Thank you.
So we're we have so much more we could talk about, like what the new Wonder Woman. So we'll actually, maybe we can get you back next month for another episode and keep on going.
And I will set up 25 reminders so I don't blow it.
You didn't blow it tonight. This has been awesome. It's been so much
I know,
fun.
but do you know the nonstop train of juggling? Because like the other night, you're like, yeah, Cliff Thursday. And I'm like, yes, of course. And I'm like, what have I done?
I triple booked.
I really did. I was just like, I'm like, you guys are moving here. We're doing this. I'm not doing double rounds of trivia. Rah!
Gotta go. See you later.
Well, you know, it's funny you did that too, because I'm like, man, I haven't heard from Cliff. I wonder if he remembers he's still on this Thursday. But you literally it's so cool that I didn't know that you didn't remember.
Yeah.
He was very nonchalant about it. Oh yeah, it'll be good.
It'll be all right.
Well, I mean, you pulled it off swimmingly, Cliff. So
yeah,
like a true professional. All right, let's go around the board. Chuck, what are you appearing on next on the YouTube, sir? I'm gonna guess Anachronic Comics Espresso Mail Call.
We're gonna be on Espresso Mail Call in a couple of weeks. That's right. So I'm looking forward to it.
Nice.
Got some great stuff.
right.
Oh, well, you guys always bring great. Watching the mail call is like just watching everybody bring in all these great books, and then watching Milk come in and go, "But those are cute, guys."
Let me drop something big. Here on you. Wow.
Yeah, I found this in the closet.
Did I show you my 9.0 Strange Adventures #1?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
I forgot to show that, so.
And Jim, what's coming up for you, sir?
March 4th, I'm gonna be on Dope Comics' show, and then I'm gonna be on Izzy's show, and in between there, my friend went over to get her son from England, and I told her don't come back to America without some new cards. So I have some cards I'll be ripping again because I really had fun doing that. So, and then I'll dig sometime. I just haven't had an opportunity. I've been swamped at work, so you have to plan all that out and find a good place, and then you got to beg and hope they'll say yes. It's a whole thing, but I'll dig eventually.
Jackson's making fun of me because I've been all over the place on YouTube lately. It's been obscene. But coming up for me next Tuesday, we have channel artist Ken Wheaton on, who's done a lot of art in the comic in this community. He did my logo, my channel stuff. The Keep It Casual design, the Keepers of the Cadge, that's all Ken Wheaton.
He did Rob's, right?
He did Rob's. He did Nick's Kicks and Comics. He did Jimmy from Small Town Collectibles. Mm-hmm. So he's coming on to the 1011. And then next Thursday, we have doing his second 1011, Unruly Simeon, who is a great dude and has a lot of great books as well.
Oh, yeah.
So going to be fun next week. Now, Cliff, what's coming up for you, sir?
Holy cow, if I can even remember.
Besides coming back on here again next month, because we didn't even talk Council of Comics or anything else with you tonight.
I know, and I love the Council of Comics. Well, you know what? At least I shared with you how Council of Comics got me.
Right.
Was the gateway to this, to gateway to Angel, to more of this. So here we are. I mean, listen, it really is lovely because I remember being in Anachronic's chat while still Clifford NY, and I'm watching Gary, and there's something you said about watch your back in bed, and I was like, I don't know, Gary, you gotta watch your front when you're with me.
I remember that because that floored Joe. It was so funny. Joe was stuck.
Right, and basically people were just like, so yeah, people are like, who is this Clifford person? Just in and out, and shortly thereafter, I did a 411 with Brian LCS because I was like, well, I want people to get to know me and to know that I kind of been doing this for a while. I don't really know
a thing or two about a thing or two. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, let's try to have which was great. There was a small connection there. Some people who didn't really know where it come from, or that even I was friends at the LCS with Empire. So some people were there was a little bit of a connection there. And we've been building on that, which I think is great. But so usually Saturdays, Tony at Comiverse. I'm there for his session. This week, we're breaking down supervillains. I love that. I have a personal belief that there's 4 villain archetypes, right? You're either all about vengeance, or you're, oh my God, I forgot my 4 villain archetypes. Or like, you're like, you are what you are, right? Like you're like the forces of the universe have made you. So Galactus is that. Galactus represents that. Like Magneto represents all vengeance when he's a villain. Right. It's like, I've seen the worst of humanity. You tried to destroy my family. That's what you are. So I'm going to trample over you so that my new family, Homo Superior, can rise above you. Love that. Oh, thank you, Tate, so much. And I try to have the joy because there's a lot of negativity trapped inside here too. I am very much not Amanda Waller's fan this year, and like whatever. But but okay, the important stuff. So Tony, Comiverse, usually Saturdays. Durs at 6 p.m. Sundays, Eastern Standard Time. Usually hang out with his sesh whenever I can. 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sundays. Very important is the Council of Comics, and we do the box office news and a movie review. This year, we've dedicated it all to trilogies. We are now on the Olympus Has Fallen trilogy. Okay.
Wow. The Gerard Butler movies?
Yes, absolutely. So basically what happened was, like, we started strong. We did Lord of the Rings, right? Ooh. And then it became like, let's like randomly choose for each other. So Phil randomly chose Olympus Has Fallen. And here I am. And then Monday nights, we got Keys of the Week and Hot Comics. And Tuesdays, we actually are live at our LC, not live. Tuesdays, we are recording at our LCS. And then that debuts on Wednesdays. And that's we just New Comic Book Day episodes, right? It's called New Comic Book Day. And we have our little skits in there, you know, where we're kind of funny. This week is good. I actually got to tell some dirty jokes this week. So I love this week. I thought this week was great.
Nice.
And then I got Crisis Quest on Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, usually.
Unless he's appearing on here.
I left him appearing on here. Then I call the whole group and I'm like, we have to change to an hour earlier.
Now, and I forgot to mention, yesterday, it got posted today. I was on Switch Comics, so you can go find that interview over on Switch's channel. Tomorrow night, you can also catch me on Blame Fable's channel. So on Fable's channel, on the Blame Fable show. Sorry.
Right.
So that's going to be fun there. So a lot of stuff. I think Phil. I was thinking Phil Tastic had asked me something, so I had him on mind. Cliff is actually appearing on more channels than I am, so yeah. Cliff is more of a YouTube whore than I am at the moment. So that's
Oh my God. I loved at one point I was on someone's show and they're like, so you're the new Rob. And I'm like, am I? This my year? I'm gonna be Rob this year. Oh my God, let it happen.
Nice.
You're the new Rob.
But I want to thank first my co-hosts Jim and Chuck. Thank you guys for coming on. The show's always better with a couple other co-hosts with me. I just love the different viewpoints. I love the different personalities. Thank you guys so much for being willing to come on and spend time on the show with me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And of course, thanks to Cliff for coming on and giving us a great show. Cliff, the show works best always, both shows, when we go off on tangents and we're just having a blast.
Oh, yeah.
Tonight was a prime example of going off on tangents and just 100%. Having the most fun we could have. So thank you for that. A super fun show. Can't wait to have you back on, and we'll actually ask you some other questions.
I'm dying to come back, and don't be afraid to do rapid fire questions with me.
All right. Well, I'm gonna invite both of these guys back again, so it'll be another Thursday. That way, they have time to prepare some questions.
There you go.
I love Jim, and whoever was missing tonight, I hope they show up too.
Steve the voice, and I threw Chuck an invite at the last second because he's been so busy with teaching. I didn't know if he could get on, and luckily for me,
thank you for coming.
Because I love Chuck, he was able to come on and have some time with us. And also, thank you so much to the audience. You guys were great tonight. Thank you so much for coming out, being involved. Check out everyone's links in the description below. Sub them up. And you guys know how I like to end this thing. As always, keep it casual.